Hello everybody and welcome back to part 2 of the build of the Vortini. Not from Hobby RC, you'll see why that's there in a minute. So we're on to the next stage where we're looking at fitting the elevons to the wings and cutting a place for our Tower Pro MG90 servos. Now, the reason why this Hobby RC card is just to sort of illustrate something. So you see I've got the Vortini elevon against the wing, not all the way at the end, but against the wing, and as you can see it butts up right against it. But because of a small cutting problem, if I do the same thing with it kind of sticking up to the end, or is it there, you can see there's a decent amount of that Hobby RC logo sticking through. And it just sort of shows how at the end of the wing you can see, whoop. Now that's no real problem. I'd rather there be too much material than too little material. And I've got a new blade in the scalpel and a straight edge, that's why that's there. So I'm just going to slice off either end to make sure everything's all nice and straight. Now, in terms of what we have to do next, so once we've done that, and the reason I'm doing this is because the next step is to put in the servos. Now I'm using the MG90s, these are from Banggood, and people believe that they are now clones. I did buy a massive bag of them. Ta-da. And they're very oily. That's the weirdest thing. They're like the grease has all slipped out of it, or whoever was putting the grease in the gears had it all over their gloves or hands or whatever. And that's why the sticker's sliding off. Reach to the point where you can slide the sticker around. So I usually put masking tape on servos when I'm putting them in a wing anyway, to make them easy to get out. I'm actually doing it so that the grease is not what the glue's trying to glue to, because otherwise it'd come out a little too easily. So yeah, so I'm going to slice off a little bit off the end of each wing, well, each side of the wing, on both wings, and then try and work out what we're going to do with these servos. Now I've lined them up. This thing is a pile of we had one of these before, and it blew up, so I bought a new one, and it's just nowhere near what it's like on a radio. Sometimes it's fine, sometimes it isn't. I think it's something to do with the way that you start it up. I've double checked, it's not the servos. I've had them all the way at one end and all the way at the other, and to be honest with you, it's been the same whether it's these cheap, bad Tower Pro MG90s, or if it's like some expensive servos. So it's not like it's cheap servos that are just cheap and nasty, and it's not like it's expensive servos where it's just, you know, it's a cheap like £3 thing. So yeah, I might need to get another one of those. I've set it up with my Futaba. It's not going to be fly on Futaba, it's going to fly on FreeSky, but that's just something we can do. So anyway, to work, I suppose, and we'll see what happens in a second. Okay, just a little quick update to show you sort of the marking that I'm doing to try and work out where the servos go. So, on the actual website where they give you sort of basic build tips on what to do with this. Now, I've never built a sort of hand-cut EPP wing before, you know, I never had any SAS sail planes or anything like that. So I'm kind of going off what I know from previous planes and the relatively basic, but not in a bad way, instructions. So I've snipped the little bits off the end. I mean, this is how much we're removing, just to sort of highlight it, like it's not that much. But it's something I recommend double checking. So with a pencil, I have lined up the elevon where it needs to be. I love the engraving. I was going to cover them red to match the core flute parts, but I'm not because of that. So, so as you can just about see, there is a line there. It is with a pencil, because you could just about see it, but it's not like massively obvious to the naked eye. You know, my eyes are now maybe 1.5 foot away from it, and I can't see it. You can see it for the camera a little bit better because of the light and things. But I've got a line, basically, it lines up so that the straight edge, ruler, whatever you want to call it, I can't pick up because my end of my fingers are ruined. So it's lined up, so that went to the end of there, because 90 degrees, and it's just gone up there. Another thing I did as well is because I'm concerned about this carbon tube, is I basically lined up the rule like so with the hole for the tube and drew a line across just to say not to go further forward than that, because I'm scared that when I try and sink this into the foam, like if I look at the end of that, look at the end of a servo. The MG90s are a little bit fatter than most of the servos, so we'd be hitting the tube, but I don't want to not be able to put the tube in. So I think I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the front lug, so I can get it as far up towards that as possible, and then just have it sitting there, because I want it in a nice thick bit of foam. So once we've done that, and I've got the servos buried in with some masking tape because of how greasy they are, and so you can take them out easier, I can glue them in and we can look at linking them up. In terms of the linkages, because I have checked those, the metal linkages, they are quite long. I mean, they'll go more or less to the front of the wing nearly, so we've got plenty of room. Going to be end up snipping some of them off. I wonder if this is the same as what they use on some other planes, and that's why it's quite so long. But anyway, so yeah, you can see the sort of lines, as I say, in the correct angle like that. But anyway, we'll go on from there. One thing you've got to work out, so that line is from the middle of that hole, roughly, as much as I can. I only eyeballed it. But because of the Z-band and everything, you've got to make sure that this arm is ever so slightly to this side of the line when you do it. Yes, very good. So I will get this marked out, get it cut. I'm not sure if I'm going to use scalpel and pliers or soldering iron. It depends if I can find that of the soldering iron with a decent tip on the end of it. But anyway, we'll see what happens next. Okay, so that's one of them in. And just ran the lead off roughly parallel with the line for the control rod. And yeah, let's move on to that one and do that instead.